we are live 646-787-8027. And I see my next guest on the line. I am pumped up for this tremendous drummer. I'm going to play a cool little piece and then pick up the great Rick Latham.
And now back to Around the Kit with Joe Gansas.
Guys, we are back 646-787-8027. You know, it doesn't get any smoother than this guy's one of the best hands I've ever seen behind his set. It gives me great pleasure to welcome to Around the Kit the tremendous Rick Latham. Rick, Joe Gansas, Around the Kit. How are you, brother? Happy New Year.
Hey, man. I'm doing good. Happy New Year to you, Joe.
Everything is
How
good, man. We are pumped up, and I can't.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, brother. We are pumped up for you, and I can't thank you enough for giving me some of your time tonight during the holiday season. Thank you.
Yeah, you're quite welcome, man. You're quite welcome. It's a pretty quiet day here, you know, being the first, just taking it easy around the house, and good to talk to you, man.
Thank you so much. So much to talk to you. What a great career and still going, thank God. Just a tremendous drummer. You know, I like to paint a picture with my guest and go back. So, you know, I know you're born in middle 50s, Rick, in I think it was Columbus, South Carolina, if I'm not mistaken. Take me back to that. I think 12 years old, we get interested in the drums or around the, you know, what was going on with a young Rick Latham back probably in the mid to late 60s and the drumming interest?
Wow. So many things, man. It's funny that I listened. I was able to listen to a little bit of Simon's interview, which was great. And yeah, it seems like we all started at you know, back in the day at that time, pretty much the same way. You know, I started playing pretty much self-taught after I would come home from school, putting on records. Man, back then I was really into like Grand Funk. Man, you know, Iron Butterfly, In-A-Gadda-Da-Vida was a killer drum solo, you know. And the band Chicago, Blood, Sweat, and Tears. wow, Three Dog Night. Some of these names I'm sure a lot of drummers don't even know today.
Right.
Some of these groups. But
Yeah.
at that time, that was classic, kind of classic rock and pop. And I would play the records, man, when I would come home from school and try to emulate all those great players. And it's interesting. I think I've been seeing these ads tomorrow night on CNN. There's a special about Chicago, the band Chicago. And Danny Serafin was a huge influence on me. And now Tristan Bowden's been playing the gig for the last couple of years. So, that's another great band that I listened to a lot at that age when I was 12, trying to copy all that great stuff. So,
right.
pretty much the same as Simon said, just kind of self-taught. And then later I went on to study. But just trying to play, play the hits of the day.
Absolutely. Guys, we are joined by the great Rick Latham. Rick, what is this band that almost scares me? The Hypertentious Amoeba?
Yeah. Yeah, that was great, man. That was way back in the day. That was my first band with some great guys. And we started that in junior high school, man. And we used to rehearse in the guitar player Mitch Scholl's garage in Columbia, South Carolina. And, we played a lot of tunes from a lot of those bands I was just mentioning. And, I think I came up with the name, I don't know, in the science class one day or something, man. Just really, really crazy. But, yeah, everybody thought that was a crazy name. I even had the revolving light inside my bass drum, man.
Yes.
Light,
That's great stuff, brother. And then later on, we go to East Carolina University, and I think somebody there was really, really inspirational to your early career and maybe even now a mentor. Talk to me about what Harold James did for Rick Latham.
Yeah, Harold Jones.
Harold Jones.
Yeah. Harold was a percussion instructor at East Carolina University at that time when I started undergraduate school. Went to school there for 4 years and got my undergraduate degree in percussion performance. And it was a small school, but a great music school in North Carolina. It's in Greenville, North Carolina. And Harold was he actually went to school there and got his master's, I think, from East Carolina, and then became the instructor there, percussion instructor. And mostly a legit classical guy, great hands, great snare drum player, great timpanist, and great mallet player. And it's funny that I really studied, I didn't study drum set at all for quite a while as far as real structured study. But, I studied all the classical percussion instruments and mallets and timpani and, snare drum techniques and stuff. But we really didn't work on drum set. But Harold was he's such a great musician. He's retired now, but he's actually still playing and still, I think he conducts a community band in Greenville, North Carolina. But still active, but yeah, just such a great musician, man. And, at school, I was in the concert band, the orchestra, the percussion ensemble, the jazz band. And, getting to play all that stuff, that's such a great time in somebody's life, going to college and learning, these skills to be, a classical percussionist. And that's what I used to really wanted to do, for a long time, maybe be a timpanist in an orchestra somewhere. Mm-hmm. So Harold was just every lesson with him was just incredible. I mean, you'd learn sometimes he didn't really actually say that much, but he would play. He would always just play. And, of course, he would give you pointers and we talked about many things, but just to see him play, man, pick up the sticks or the mallets and play was something you just wanted to emulate, and you wanted to be like that,
Mm-hmm.
And it's really, really great when teachers can do that. And I think that's one reason why I still enjoy teaching today too. I still enjoy, teaching as much as I can as well.
Absolutely. Guys, we're talking to the tremendous Rick Latham. He's been so nice to grace my show tonight, and I can't thank him enough. Rick, you've been doing this a long time. You've played with some great artists from rock to jazz to so many different genres. Guys like Rick Derringer, Neil Schon, Pat Travis, Howard Roberts, Paul Smith. Keep going on and on. Playing with all these great and sometimes legendary artists in different genres, is there a different approach for Rick Latham from each of them, or are you always the same Rick Latham with everybody?
Well, no, you have to kind of, you definitely, I mean, most people, of course, hire you because of who you are.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, you like to kind of interject your own style and own feel and stuff. But some of the stuff, like you said, is classic and legendary. Like a good example would be when I played with Edgar Winter.
Mm-hmm.
This was incredible, playing Frankenstein every night.
Yeah. Wow.
Free Ride, Tobacco Road, all the great stuff. And some of those things, just like Simon mentioned too, you want to be, true to the song and owe homage to the original, So, of course, a lot of those artists expect to hear that. They want to hear that. But, of course, like, again, with Edgar, we got along really great. And, he's a drummer himself. I mean, he plays drums. He can play drums. He's a great multi-instrumentalist. But we got along great. And he loved some of the stuff, at that time, I would, play some of my linear, I'm a little more known for linear kind of funk stuff, but, I would interject some of that stuff, and he enjoyed it, But I tried to be, true to the, to the music and not overplay for sure.
Great stuff. It was included in Modern Drummer's 25 Greatest Drum Books, 1980, Advanced Funk Study. 25 years old. Take me back to that time when you did this. Did you expect the success it had, and were you surprised of the success? To be honest, at a young age of coming up with this, one of the 25 greatest drum books. Did you expect everything that came out of this, tremendous piece of art?
Joe, I really never had the idea that it would become what it has become, and it's still used so much all around the world in schools and private teaching schools and conservatories and stuff. But when I wrote the book, I just I felt like I was actually going to North Texas at that time. I was working on my master's degree at University of North Texas, called North Texas State back then. And now University of North Texas, which a lot of great drummers, too, have come out of that school.
Yeah.
I just, I was, that was the time, too, like 73, 74, when everybody was really into, like, Garibaldi and Gadd, and the linear thing was really happening, Lenny White, Mike Clark, all these guys. And I was really into that style, and I could really identify, one, with Steve Gadd because he had the military rudimental background and stuff and kind of applied it to the drum set with these linear concepts and stuff. So I was really digging that stuff, and I would write this stuff out and come into a lesson and say, check this lick out that I transcribed this week, and I would always do that, like, before my lessons, and all the guys really enjoyed it. And, they said, you should write a book with this stuff, man, because that's what everybody was wanting to learn at that time,
Mm-hmm.
So I put ideas together, and, I actually published the book myself. I did every note in that book by hand. I mean, you can really still tell that. There was no programs at that time to, computer programs to print music and percussion, drum notation especially. So, it just came out at the right time, man. I had no idea it would become the book it has become, and is still doing very well. And I'm really knock wood for that, and I appreciate everybody that's used the book and has, mentioned the book and kind of helped launch it. Louis Belson and a couple of guys that I met, even Steve Gadd was very supportive when I first showed the book to Steve, and many guys gave some great kind of reviews and endorsements, and that helped a lot too, man. And I think that would be maybe different and more difficult to do today, but that was again, like you said, 1980. So it just came out at the right time, and it is good material. I'm very proud of that book, and man, it just kind of blew up,
Absolutely. Great stuff. Guys, we're talking to the great Rick Latham, 646-787-8027. Rick, we're always talking about, it's a drum show, and of course we want to talk about what we do with two sticks in our hand, but
sure.
What do we want to talk about a little bit now is the mental part of drums, not only playing, but listening, thinking, communication.
Sure.
Give me some about how important are these attributes, just as important as hitting things with sticks, brother?
Sure. Well, as far as playing, music, it's the most important. I just wrote a thing. I don't know if you saw it, but you can still. It's on my Facebook page a few days ago, and I wrote some thoughts just about the end of the year, and I was just putting some thoughts. I like to write some kind of good thoughts and things for drummers to think about. And I wrote, about listening and, playing with people, playing real music, learning how to interact with musicians, learning how to listen, learning how to phrase. This is all important. It's not all about chops all the time. It's really about learning how to play music. And listening is a huge part of being a good musician, becoming a good musician. And I think that's one thing that especially young drummers and young musicians of every instrument, that's difficult to learn because you want to play your fastest, loudest, highest, whatever, depending on the instrument. And, you have to really kind of rein that stuff in sometimes and really learn how to be musical and not, overboard with everything. So, I think that was another big thing that I learned in being in school too, playing with big bands, small groups, quintets, quartets, trios, big bands, different ensembles of different sizes, and learning how to listen, and then again, auditions, playing with bands, Edgar Winter, B.B. King, playing blues, growing up in Texas. After I finished school, I lived in Dallas for 10 years before moving to L.A. But, playing different styles and learning different styles, I think, is really important too. Not just all about chops,
Absolutely. Great stuff.
Yeah. I think it's good for drum. With YouTube and everything we have now, which is great. And I didn't have all that stuff then. I actually had to, to play music. I would either play along with the record player, put headphones on, and play along the records, or either play with my buddies. So I would have buddies come over to the house, or I would go over and rehearse, even just jam with a guitar player or a bass player. I even had a friend, this a very good friend of mine, Norman Moore. He was older than me. I have an older brother, 4 years older than I am, and he was in the high school band and stuff too. But my friend Norman was actually in the percussion section, but he played piano, was a great pianist. And he would come over and just play our, little upright piano, and I would take my drums into the living room, and we would play just instrumental stuff. All these instrumental stuff from the late 60s and 70s.
Right.
So I learned a lot, playing with him like that. Just playing music, and not worrying so much about chops and stuff, but a lot of different styles.
Absolutely great stuff.
So,
Yeah,
I think that's important. I think learning how to listen and playing different styles, listening and playing for the music is really important.
Rick, I don't want to mention any names. I don't want to get too much into this, but last night I was watching some New Year's Eve thing, and there was a certain singer on TV, and she was lip syncing. And let's get into it or whatever. I don't want to mention her name, but
right, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Well, and then it didn't go good, and it was a total disaster. I'm not blaming anybody, but I wanted to get your take on this. Is it a bad message we're sending to the younger generation who spend their time, Rick Latham, in their house, practicing, sweating, learning their craft? Is this what they want to look forward to one day? Tell somebody you have to go on stage and just lip sync. I know there's all money involved and management,
sure.
but what's your take on stuff like that about lip syncing and going up there and faking it and not doing what you love?
Yeah, I don't really dig that, and I'm not a singer, so singers have different issues and things
right.
with weather and different things like that sometimes. And I understand why they would prefer to do it sometimes, but I don't agree with it for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And even sometimes it was interesting because when I first started playing again, I'm going to mention Edgar again because
right.
it just fits with what we're saying. But when I first started Edgar's gig, there were only 3 people. It was me, Edgar, and a guitar player, and a lot of the stuff was sequenced and programmed.
Right.
So. And that was due partially to the money thing, keep the budget down and
right.
traveling and stuff like that. But, Edgar used to have a big band with the white trash horns and, 12-piece band, which is great. And we would play a lot of that stuff. And, some of that stuff was programmed. So we got to play, I would play to a click. And but we could still stretch a little bit. And
right.
later on, we did add a bass player, and sometimes we played with the horns too. So, it was just a, kind of a financial thing at one point. But but a lot of singers do it, and I don't really dig it. I don't think it's a good thing. I think it's great when, people like Aretha and some of the really great singers just go and do it, And you don't have those problems,
Well, yeah. Rick, I would rather see, and I really mean this, I would rather see a singer go up there, Rick Latham, and sing live and make a mistake rather than lip sync, because at least it's real. It's real. There's passion involved.
Yeah, exactly. And that can be, not only devastating to the singer, very embarrassing, but to the whole band. I've seen other situations too, man, where it was just a, pardon the expression, but a clusterfuck.
Yeah.
It was just, everything fell apart, and it makes everybody look stupid.
Mm-hmm.
So why not just play it live? It's really interesting too, man. I just one quick little story that was very interesting. One time we were playing with Edgar, and the sequence actually went out, and this is very strange for this to happen, but the power went off on stage, so I was the only thing not plugged in, electric. So now this is funny, man. Right in the middle of one tune, the power went out. Luckily. And I kept playing, and just we were kind of looking around like, what should we do? I didn't want to just stop, so I kept playing. And it's funny that this was a very old sequencer that Edgar had at that time. I think maybe in Sonic or something, really on a very old machine, and I think it had a floppy disk in it. And the power came back on, and the sequence started from where we left off, and I was still in time.
Nice.
So, this was really nice. And Edgar, after the show, Edgar's got this high voice. Rick, that was incredible. I can't believe that was, So this was a really funny instance where, the human element really, kind of saved the show, But it's really strange that most things, when they would reboot, now they would not play automatically and not for sure not start where you left off. But for some reason, man, the power came back on and everything was in place, and that was a little bit funny, But but I was proud. I was proud that I was still in time,
Absolutely.
That was funny, but yeah, I'm not a big fan of lip syncing or playing to tracks or anything like that. Live is great. Live is music.
Right. Rick, you've been doing this a long time. You've been an educator for a long time. Do you ever find yourself, teaching somebody or a student, and maybe almost at the same time becoming a student also?
Sure. I feel like I'm still learning myself, man. I love teaching, and I've had some great teachers, and but yeah, every time I teach someone, I learn something else myself. Either a better way to teach, or either something that maybe I haven't seen before. That might inspire me to try something else. I think that's a never-ending. Thing, and I think all musicians are like that. I don't think you really ever quit learning, or ever feel like you know everything, because I certainly don't know everything, and I have still a lot of years left, and want to do a lot more stuff. So I'm always learning, man. And I still like to practice myself. I don't get a chance to practice so much anymore, but I still enjoy practicing.
Yeah, talk to me about something you have a love for, but I don't think you've done it enough in your career, and you want to do more. That's big band drumming. You're an excellent big band drummer. Talk to me about that aspect of your career, and have you really tackled everything you wanted so far as a big band drummer?
That's a very good question, man. And I do love playing big band, and I do consider myself a big band drummer. And I played in the lab bands at North Texas, which is very famous. The school is known for its 1 o'clock band, but they have 9 bands all day long, and all the bands are great. But when I moved to LA, I was able to do some sessions with big bands and stuff too, and that was great as well. And I never really did as much of that as I would like to do, but I do really enjoy that. And kicking a big band, man, that has a special feeling. That's a great, I loved Buddy Rich, and of course every drummer loves Buddy, but he was a huge influence. Louis Bellson too, Ed Shaughnessy, and the great drummers would Count Basie, and all the great big bands, really inspired me a lot. And I used to play a lot of those tunes in college with the lab bands or the jazz bands. But I would love to do more of that. I would love to do one of those Buddy Rich memorial things sometime.
Oh.
That would be cool. That would
nice.
be cool. But I love that stuff. I love big band drumming and setting up a big band. Like I said, I studied actually with several different teachers at North Texas. Robert Shatroma, classical stuff. Henry Oxdale, drum set, and also Ron Fink, who is retired. And Ron wrote a very good drum set book called Drum Set Reading, and has all these figures how to set up a big band. All these little, all these little setups and stuff. The and of 2, the and of 3, the and of 4, like maybe 50 different ways to, play those fills. But I love playing with a big band, and I would love to do more.
Yeah, I hope we see you more, because just tremendous stuff, guys. We've been talking for about 25 minutes to the great Rick Latham. It's been so nice to come on my show tonight. You've been teaching for a long time, Rick. So many students. I want to talk about your students for a second. And when we teach somebody in life, we hope they understand things, and we hope it triggers in their brain. But talk to me about, over the years, your students not only learning, but have they taken responsibility for what they've learned?
Right. I think it is important, man, that you do, as a teacher, that you do have some kind of effect, a positive effect on a student, and you can only hope that they use it, to the best and become the best musicians they can become. But I think some students have carried on and gotten it, and some haven't, for sure. I mean, every student and everybody is different. But I try to, again, not only teach the technical aspect, but the mental aspect too of drumming and becoming a better musician. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know if that really answers your question. Maybe you could ask it a different way or something. But I try to give guys a lot of different things to think about besides just the physical aspect. And it's funny that a lot of drummers kind of see me as that, because I do consider myself to have good technique, and I learned great technique from a lot of great teachers. Mm-hmm. But it's not all about the technique; it's how you use it. Mm-hmm. And, being a musician. So when I do teach, I do think that I can, give some good information, not only physical, technical type stuff, but also mental things and life lessons too. That's important.
Mm-hmm. Rick, you've been doing this a long time. Since you really got into the business, since you've been in the business probably, 35 years already, somewhere around there, and when you look back up to this point of your career, what's the one thing that you say you've learned about yourself, Rick Latham, that you didn't realize before you got into the business?
Oh, wow. That's a good question. Well, maybe that it's that you really have to, no matter what people say about your style or that you have to really be true to yourself, And I think a lot of times we all get kind of trapped into, what people say about you is good or bad. And, you just have to really, the music business is a difficult business, mm-hmm. As most people will tell you. And, I think it's maybe harder than you even realized. But once you kind of get through that wall, break it down and start making more connections and stuff, I think you can accomplish whatever you want to accomplish. Mm-hmm. And I think sometimes I maybe thought, maybe I feel to answer the question again, to maybe I thought sometimes I couldn't do certain things, and I could do them, Mm-hmm. I just had to really, really put my nose to the grind and work a little harder.
Mm-hmm. Does Rick Latham like to challenge Rick Latham? Sure.
I always try to do that. Mm-hmm. And again, like I said, I still like to practice when I can, and try to do new stuff. It's funny that we recently moved into a new house here in California, mm-hmm. and I'm living also part-time mostly now in Europe, in Milan, Italy.
Yes.
And I don't have drums in my apartment and can't play as much as I would like to. And here I'm finally this week fishing things out from the last move. So I've been missing practicing a little bit. So I still like to push myself. And I haven't been able to do it recently as much as I would like to, but I hope to be able to get back into spending a little more time practicing. But I do get to play a lot and traveling and with my group in Italy, and as well as sessions here and still teaching and stuff. So, I always like pushing myself. And I think I'll always do that.
Absolutely. I think that's what makes us better as performers, to always push ourselves, Rick?
Sure. I think that's something. Again, I think every great musician is always expanding and learning, like I said. Mm-hmm. I think that's a good
Rick,
thing.
Yeah, like we said, you've been doing this a long time, and you've seen a big evolution of drums over the last, oh my God, 40 plus years that you've been playing.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, probably even a little more than that. Probably 50 years you've been playing now. Yeah.
50 years this year.
Nice, beautiful. So 50 years of playing, you've seen so many newcomers and so many old timers unfortunately leave us. Is drums in a good place worldwide? Is it in a good space right now in Rick Latham's eyes? Are we in good hands?
Well, I think it is in a good place just because more people are playing, and I've been the last couple of years. I've been going to China a couple of times each year, and there's a tremendous movement in China for kids learning drums, and it's really incredible. There's a gentleman, Mr. Lee, that has a huge chain of schools called the 9 Beats Drum Schools. And these schools are incredible. You see little kids like 8 years old playing some incredible stuff. They can't always understand everything they can play. They learn a little bit by rote, just by copying. But still, some of the kids are monsters, and here in America as well. But I will say that I'm concerned a little bit about the YouTube guys who become kind of YouTube sensations and can't really play music. So that's something I would like to say, and I know I'll probably get a lot of phone calls and emails about that.
No.
But and I don't mean that bad. I just mean that play music. Go out and play music. Don't just become a chops drummer and how fast you can play, or I always tell guys, learn how to play one bass drum before you tackle two. One single pedal before two, before double pedal. And but I think drumming's in a good space. I think drumming is popular, and the manufacturers, they may tell you something different. They look at everything from number, from selling stuff. But I think drumming, there's so many great drummers out there, and so many great drummers that you can see on the internet, which is one great thing about technology. And I love technology. I do some Skype lessons and stuff too from time to time. And Drumeo, I think that's a great site. The Drum Channel, I do stuff for DW at the Drum Channel, and I think those, things like what you're doing, man, with the blog, the talk radio, it's all good, spreading the word, and getting more information out there, more good information. So I think it's good.
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought up the YouTube. I want to stay in there for 2 minutes, and then I know you've been here for a while already. We watch YouTube, and I'm not going to mention any names, but I think sometimes, Rick, it's sending the wrong message. Well, it's not really sending a message. There's drummers doing their thing, and it doesn't make them a bad person. But I find myself, Rick Latham, watching a guy go around a set 1,000 miles an hour. I just think, to me personally, it's not what drums is about. I know they're hitting everything and they're doing everything correct, and they got great timing and great chops, but I just think that they're missing the big picture.
I totally agree. I totally agree. It's all about music, and that's why I started to be a drummer, but to be a good musician and play a lot of different styles. And again, it's funny that I mentioned that in that little thing I wrote again that I mentioned earlier on Facebook.
Right.
That it's not all about that, because a lot of the techniques, like I'll give an example. Just quickly. I know you need to go pretty soon, but just like, a sliding technique on the bass drum, on the bass drum pedal. Okay, sliding technique is great, but just learn how to play it first. Just learn how to basically play some strokes.
Yep.
Then you can work on a specialty technique, And everybody's got all these great techniques and finger control and all this stuff, but just learn how to play good, consistent, good sound, good feel, dynamics. These are important, and then you can work on all that other stuff. You can't, and a lot of young drummers, I think it is sending the wrong message, like you mentioned, because some young guys see this thing or this person on YouTube and they go, "Oh, that's how you play the drum."
Mm-hmm.
No, that's how you play. That's how you play fast, and that's how you play specialty things.
Right.
That's not how you should start playing the drums. I think it's great that it may inspire people, and that is great, but they have to really look at all the aspects of it.
Well,
I
Rick,
totally agree.
If you'll allow me to read from your page now, a little paragraph, can I do that right now?
Sure. Which page? What are you reading from?
This is what you're talking about. Part 3 says, learn to play music, learn to play with real live people, and learn to play different styles. That's a huge statement right there, Rick. People don't understand what you just said. It just means get dirty, get sweaty, get in there, do it.
Exactly. That's exactly right, Joe. And that's what it's all about, And that's when I started, man. That's like I said, those people that I listened to, the drummers. A lot of those drummers, man, back then in the 60s and 70s, they didn't have really good technique. A lot of the rock and pop drummers, but they had a great feel, and they played great music,
This is your last paragraph. In closing, I would just like to say that playing drums is fun and exciting. I am proud and blessed that I have built a very fulfilling and successful career for myself doing this. I hope it makes you feel good, as it does me. I have always loved practicing, performing, teaching, and talking to drummers all around the world about many of the things I have mentioned. I am not just preaching. I am giving some honest, time-tested advice for all you young drummers and not so young drummers as well to think about they pursue their individual paths. I've gotten all my gigs because of my feel and time. Not any specialty techniques. Most artists or producers could really care less about what technique you use as long as it's controlled, consistent, and feels good. That's just great stuff, Rick. It's well written, brother.
Well, thank you, man. Thank you. I appreciate that, Joe. That's just what I've experienced, man. I'm just trying to pass it on.
Mm-hmm. Well, Rick,
good advice.
I can't tell you, man, how much you made my show better tonight. It's been a pleasure coming on my show. It's been my pleasure interviewing you. Rick, at the end of my interviews, I ask my guests an honest question, and it's an honest answer. Whatever you say is cool. Rick, how would you rate this interview, honestly?
I would rate it as a 10, man, certainly. I would certainly give it the highest rating possible. I think you asked some really great questions, and I think you're doing a great job by doing this, man. And you're doing it consistently and having some great guys on. It's great.
Well, Rick, what do you got coming up? Anybody wants to get a hold of you, where can they reach you? What's coming up for Rick Latham?
Yeah, they can reach me, of course, on Facebook, and I am teaching while I'm here. I'm back in the States, in the LA area until February, then go back to Europe. But I am playing some, I was touring with Juice Newton, country pop artist, for the last 10 years. I'm playing a couple of gigs with Juice this month and next month. And I'll be at the NAMM show. So anybody coming to the NAMM show, come by. I'll be mostly at the Istanbul Mehmet Symbol booth. Nice. And, hanging out at NAMM and hope to see a bunch of folks there.
Well, Rick, from everybody at Around the Kit, Joe Gansas, I can't thank you enough. You're a gentleman and just a world-class drummer. I've been wanting you on this show for a long time, so I can't thank you enough, brother. And God bless and have a great year, man.
Great. Thank you, Joe. You too, man. Happy New Year and all the best to you and your family and all the drummers out there.
All right, man. We'll talk to you soon, guys. The great Rick Latham. Thank you, brother.
Take care. Okay. Bye-bye, man.
Guys, the great... Listen, if you ever want to check this guy out, just watch his hands. That's what a drummer's hands should look like when you're playing. Controlled, relaxed, so fluid. I mean, I watched this guy play in his hands. It just phenomenal stuff. So, check out all he does, Rick Latham. Once again, thank you to the great Rick Latham. Guys, we'll do a couple of promos and then see where we are with our next guest. Once again, thank you to the great Rick Latham.